I think we should bond together and go find Melanie Fox and just demand answers from her, because she won't talk to us individually.
What started Student Success Link is us evaluating what we do in terms of programs with students. That was one of the things that got us thinking about it. A second thing that came about was the fact that students are bringing so many different issues to college over the last 5 to 10 years, whether that's mental or emotional issues, financial issues, family issues. It's just that the student experience is getting a lot more complicated. And so as we look at best practices across the nation, I started to go to some conferences and hear some things about changing the way certain schools were doing programming in the residence halls. They were still doing some group programs, but what they found was that today's students tend to, since they've been more technology driven and things of that nature, the group programs are good, but they can't always fulfill the needs that students have. And what they really have found is that one-to-one conversations and relationships with RAs and things of that nature seem to provide more stable environments for the students than all of the group programmings that have gone on. So we did a little more research into that, and it seems as though that one-on-one effect is not only helping in the programmatic area, but it's helping us to know if students are having concerns, and that's across the country. There are several schools that are doing this, and we called some of them, talked to some of them prior to trying to instigate it. And so we came up with what we're calling the Student Success Link as our version of that. And this is the first semester of it, and it is a shift for our students and our RAs, and I think has had some negative fallout in terms of how people feel about it, and you know, it isn't what we have intended, but it's also helpful to hear both the positive and the negative.
If it is safety, I don't think it's protected by the right to privacy. But if it's not safety related, then I think we're in the avenue here of violating the right to privacy. So, and I think that's not always an easy call. But I think for the RAs I've talked to, this is going well beyond safety. Right? It's cataloging, let's say, membership in particular organizations on campus. If a student wants to be in alliance and doesn't want family and friends or others to know about it, I think that student has every single right to do so. I mean, on a few occasions on this campus, I've taught a course called Queer Law. This issue comes up in terms of the membership in alliance in particular. A lot of students who may be leaving home, who have come out as straight, experiment in college, join an organization like Alliance, the Students for Democratic Society, don't want other people to know, and I would maintain they have the right that other people don't know what organizations that they're members of. That is part of the right to privacy.
The overall purpose, especially at a small institution like ours, is to make sure the students have someone that they see as a resource, hopefully that RA. We found that RAs were knowing kind of the students who were always having issues or the students who were always really involved in the hall. So in the middle of that bell curve were a lot of students who may have known who their RA's name, but not really known them or having a relationship with them. And while we didn't want our RAs to force themselves on students necessarily, we did want to make sure that they were intentional in giving students the opportunity to get to know them, and also have that resource if something happened. Let's say a student has a death in the family. That's going to impact their ability to function, and we can plug them into resources, whereas if they really didn't know that RA, would they ever really seek them out as a resource? So it had several different reasons why we wanted it to be implemented and hoped that it would be successful. And it'll be a little while before we see if those things are playing out while we assess it and get some data, but that's our hope. I think we didn't do a very good job of having the RAs, giving the RAs the tools they needed to inform students about it. So I have heard from several people, I didn't even know this was going on, and that was not our intention at all, so I think that we did not do that very well. I think we need to get some information from RAs to see how they feel like it's going for them in terms of the facilitation of it, and also not just give the RAs tools to talk to the students about, but possibly also have some opportunities for students to ask us about it, to get some more information about it themselves so they know the purposes behind it and that it's not really to be Big Brother at all or anything along those lines. And I think maybe there's some things that we can do to tweak that so that it doesn't feel like that to students, because that's by far not what we want. I think that we did not communicate effectively outwardly to people, and we plan to do that in January. We're planning to have things in the different residence halls to promote the Student Success Link and hopefully get the word out there better starting in the spring. And I think I would just have to say, you know what, you're right. We didn't communicate that, and that can sometimes cause people to feel like they're trying to hide it from me. And we really weren't, but I think that's a situation where we would just have to say we didn't communicate effectively, and you're right. And we're going to try to communicate more effectively as we start the semester off in the spring so that it's more clear and people can have feedback for us so that we can improve it in ways that we may not have thought of.